Hello, Jessica. This is Roy's mother. Do you have a moment to talk? Oh, of course. What can I do for you? I thought it was about time we got together to have a discussion about Roy's estate. His estate? Don't you think it's a little bit too soon for that? It's only been a week since his funeral. Yes, I'm aware, but it's a discussion that we need to have, and the sooner the better. I'm not sure if Roy ever told you this, but he should have left a sizable amount of money to me. That boy was always good to me, and this was his final act of filial piety. I'm planning on using the money to have a pleasant and relaxing retired life. I see. So you were planning on your son's inheritance to finance your retirement. Also, Jessica, I think you should know that I have every intention to not allow one single penny of Roy's money go to you. What? You had to see this coming, dear. I heard about everything from Roy. The two of you were about to be divorced when he passed away. Am I right? Well, yes, I suppose we were. Well, then that settles it. What right could you possibly have over Roy's money? Roy is my son, and you're little more than a former roommate of his as far as I'm concerned. I will not let you have his estate. Did Roy happen to tell you the specific circumstances of our divorce, or did he leave that part out? Isn't it obvious? You were a complete failure as a wife. You used him for his money, and you never paid him any of the attention or affection he deserved as your husband. You may have cheated my son out of some of his hard-earned money while he was living, but I will not let you steal from him now. Is that so? And that's all I have to say. Now pack up your things and be out of that house by this evening. Seriously? I'm dead serious, Jessica. The house you were living in belonged to Roy. He built it with his own money, his name is on the title, and now that he's gone, that house belongs to me, his mother. There's no fighting this, Jessica. It's all written very clearly in his will. The house is mine. I'm going to be moving in there as soon as possible, which means you need to leave as soon as possible. Take all your things, leave all of Roy's, and be out of that house by sundown. And I know if you take anything of Roy's, so don't even think about trying to steal his things. Ugh! Don't be such an immature brat, Jessica. You can't seriously be planning to try and stay in that house, can you? Since you were about to divorce him and move out anyway, I'm sure you already had arrangements made for another apartment or something. So there's no reason for you to stay there. Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't really need this house. Good, then it's settled, and we have no more reason to talk to each other. But seeing as the house is getting foreclosed on today, I don't think you'll be able to enjoy living there for very long. What? Foreclosed? I'll talk to the bank to tell them that you'll be the one to hand over the keys to them. But you'll need to sign over the deed to them by tonight, so make sure you bring a pen. If you ask them nicely enough, maybe they'll even give you an hour or so to take in some of your memories of Roy. What are you talking about? Hi there, Jessica. Hope you're doing well tonight. Thanks again for everything you did with my brother's funeral. I really appreciate it. Hey there, Steph. Don't mention it. By the way, did you get over the fever you caught after the funeral was over? How are you feeling? Oh, that? Nah, I'm totally fine right now. I've been over that for days. I bet I just overexerted myself. I was already burning the candle at both ends with my work lately, and then in the middle of that I had to deal with my brother's funeral. It must have been a really hard time for you then. I'm glad you're doing better anyway.
It wasn't too bad. I bet it was way harder on you than me. I know that a lot happened between you and my brother, but I want you to know how grateful I am that you gave him a proper funeral, even after all of that.
It's no problem at all, Steph.
And by the way, my main purpose for messaging you right now is because I heard that my mom has been pestering you with texts lately about my brother's estate. Is that true?
Yeah, kinda. Is she actually still living in that house right now?
Yes. Yes, she is. Unbelievable. I don't know what she's thinking. It's like she's completely oblivious to everything that's happened over the last few years and her part in it. My dad says it's like talking to a brick wall trying to talk sense into her these days.
Oh, boy. I wish there was a way I could help.
Well, that's actually the second thing I wanted to talk to you about. I know this is sudden, but are you free at the moment? If possible, I'd like to meet with you in person. There's a number of things I'd like to talk to you about, including what to do next about my mom.
Yeah, I'm totally free tonight. I'm staying at the hotel that's right next to the bus station downtown. If I recall correctly, your house isn't too far away from here, right? We could either meet at your house or my hotel's lobby, whichever is best for you.
I'll go ahead and head over to your hotel. I remember where it is. Thanks. See you then.
Good morning. What can I do for you? Don't give me good morning. Some people from a real estate agency just came by and said if I don't leave the house soon, they're going to call the police and have me arrested for trespassing. According to them, the house is actually in your name. That's the first I've ever heard of that. Why didn't you tell me? You already sold it to them? You owe me an explanation. Wait, you really didn't know about all that? I guess maybe Roy was planning to tell you about everything once it had been finalized, but it seems like he could have at least told you the bare minimum. Hurry up and explain what you did. Just make sure you're aware that Roy and I were planning to get a divorce when he died, right? Yes, and what of it? What does that have to do with you stealing my house and selling it without my permission? I'm getting there, calm down. Next, were you aware that the reason we were getting divorced was because Roy was cheating on me? He was? So you didn't know. Well, he was cheating on me, so I sued him both for the damages related to the affairs as well as for a divorce. Roy was lavishing his mistress with gifts, designer handbags, shoes, vacations, you name it. And in just the span of a year, our total savings declined from around $100,000 to just $1,000. He spent that much in a single year? Now, one major problem for Roy was that the money he spent came out of our joint savings account. So he had spent tens of thousands of dollars of savings that were also mine without my permission on his illicit affair. Ordinarily, in this sort of situation, I'd have the legal right to demand he return every single penny of that money to me. But I was also fully aware that he had no means with which to repay it, and I was eager to not have any interactions with him anymore after the divorce. So, our lawyers talked it over, and in the end the compromise we decided on was this. I would agree not to sue Roy, to have him return the money he spent on his mistress, and in return I would receive the house, as well as all the furniture and appliances in the house. It was at that point that he transferred the deed over to me, and I sold the entire thing to a real estate company the very next day. How could you do such a thing? The real estate company was actually super understanding about everything, and they agreed to let me stay in the house until Roy's funeral was over. You sold my son's house! I can't believe you! That was the only thing I had to remember him by. Hey, don't blame me. Blame your son for being a cheater. None of this would have happened if you would have kept his pants on. If only he had not slept with that woman, we wouldn't be getting divorced, and he wouldn't have exhausted all of our savings on her. So, yeah. I don't see how I did anything wrong in all this. It's all Roy and his mistress's fault. Yes, you're right. It's all his mistress's fault, that vile woman. If she hadn't seduced my poor, innocent Roy, then none of this would have ever happened. Who is that vile harpy? Tell me her name. You must know who she is, don't you? I'll go find her and give her a piece of my mind for the terrible fate she brought upon my poor Roy. I don't think you need me to tell you her name. You already know her. She's one of your friends. What? What are you talking about? It was Nancy Johnson. No, not Nancy. How long ago was it? Maybe 2 years ago or so? You were going at me in your usual way, telling me I'm worthless and that Roy deserves better than me, when you said, I know, I'll just have to find him a woman better than you. Sometime after that, you brought the darling Nancy Johnson, the daughter of one of your friends, over for dinner. And within just a few days of that dinner, the two of them began their nearly 2-year-long affair. That can't be true! Oh, and one more thing. You seem to be under the wrong impression about Roy's will. More specifically, you're under the impression that he had a will at all. He didn't. And since he had no will, by default his estate is passed on to his legal heir. I know that. Everyone knows that. That's exactly what I'm saying. As his mother, I'm his next of kin, and so I'm the one who gets his estate. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but since we were still married at the time of Roy's death, I was still his legal wife, and thus I am his next of kin, not you. What? And I mean, besides, even if you were to inherit his estate, how much do you think it could really be worth? He didn't just waste our joint savings account on his mistress. He even blew through the savings he had from when he was single. So I don't know what you were expecting, but at this point he doesn't have much of an estate at all. Oh no. When going through his stuff the other day, I looked up his bank accounts, and none of them had more than a few dollars in it. I don't believe you. You're lying! Well, if you want some proof, I can give you all his bank cards and passwords, and you can check them all out for yourself. And if you're still intent on trying to claim that for yourselves, you're more than welcome to have your lawyer contact mine and discuss the issue. What do you say? Enough of this already! I get it. Oh, well that's good. Be sure to have all your things moved out of the house by sundown tonight. Tonight? You can't do this to me, Jessica! Jessica? Where are you? I just stopped by your parents' house, but they weren't living there anymore. When did they move? Where are you? My parents' house? They haven't been living at that house for over a year now. In any case, why are you at my parents' old house? I'm looking for you, of course. Me? Why would you be looking for me at my parents' old house? It's way too far away from my job. I'd have like an hour-long commute every day. Then where are you? Tell me! I don't see any legitimate reason for you to need to know where I am right now. If you need anything from me, you can ask my lawyer. Just tell me where you are this instant. I mean it! If you must know, I'm staying with a friend for a while. What friend? Give me the address of the house, Jessica. That's an order. Not a chance. Why would I? You and I are nothing anymore. I'm not your daughter-in-law. You're not my mother-in-law. Nonsense. Of course you're still my daughter-in-law. Even if Roy has passed away, nothing changes the fact that you were married into this family, Jessica. I'm still your daughter-in-law, whether you like it or not. And as my daughter-in-law, it is your duty to provide me with the financial support. Where did you hear that from? Some weird Facebook group or something? No, I no longer have any duty, morally or legally, to provide you with any support of any kind. You're not getting anything out of me. Don't run away from your responsibilities to me. Were you listening just now? The moment that Roy died, our legal marriage was dissolved, so I no longer have any legal connections to you whatsoever. Is that clear? I'm not your daughter-in-law anymore, and even if I was, I still would do everything in my power to not have to provide you with any support. You're terrible! I don't deserve to be treated this way. After everything you've done to me over the years, you deserve way worse from me than this. You're lucky I didn't sue you for emotional abuse. So no, I'm not going to give you the address for my friend's house, who is even less of a connection to you than me. Now just leave me alone. I never want to speak to you again for the rest of my life. You can't abandon me. What am I supposed to do now? Oh, right. Your husband divorced you the other day, didn't he? How do you know that? I heard the whole thing from Steph. It was quite the story. I didn't even know about this at the time, but the night that Roy got into that car accident, he was on his way to see his mistress, Nancy, wasn't he? Your ex-husband found out about that. And he also found out that you were the one introducing the two of them. Boy, was he shocked to hear that. And the straw that broke the camel's back was when I let the two of them know that you introduced them in hopes that Roy would leave me and get married to her. Once he heard that, he couldn't take it anymore and filed for divorce the very same day. He kicked you out of the house. And when you tried crawling to Steph for help, she cut you out too. Aren't you in a predicament? But there was no way I could have predicted things would turn out like this. I'll give you that much. I wouldn't have seen it coming either if I was in your shoes. But then, if I was in your shoes, I don't think I'd be going around encouraging my son to have an affair, and also actively bringing him women to have affairs with. Please, Jessica, you have to help me. Why? Because I have nowhere else to go. My parents are long dead, and I have no siblings. Don't you remember your wedding vows? You promised to love my son, for better or worse, richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, right? Who cares about legal connections? You're my daughter-in-law. We're eternally bound through your marriage to Roy. I know we can get along well, you'll see. Did you forget the whole "till death do us part" bit? Or that you were the one who pushed Roy into his affair, which led to the ends of both our marriages as well as his life? Well, or that you were constantly verbally abusive to me throughout the entire time I've known you? Lucky for you, your son's good-for-nothing wife is officially out of your hair forever. Jessica, you have to give me a place to live. That's an order. No. Jessica? I'm blocking you. And if you ever try to contact me again, I'll get a restraining order put out on you. Jessica! Goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your life. After that, who do you suppose my ex-mother-in-law went to for help? None other than Nancy Johnson, the woman she pushed into my husband's arms. Personally, I've gotten over her affair with Roy, partially because of the passing of time and partially because I'd already received a massive judgment against her for the affair. But it seems as though my ex-mother-in-law wasn't quite over it. She stormed in the house and screamed at her, saying, "If you hadn't made my Roy spend so much money on you, he would have had some left over for me." And then she started breaking every breakable object in sight. It's honestly kind of impressive how well she avoids placing even the smallest amount of blame for the situation on Roy, but I digress. In the end, Nancy ended up suing her and winning a hefty judgment for the damage done to her house. So, now my ex-mother-in-law is stuck with being a 70-year-old divorcee working whatever odd jobs she's physically capable of in order to pay it off. Part of me feels bad for her, but that's a very, very small part of me. Most of me just feels like she got what was coming for her. Karma always wins in the end. Oh well, none of that is any concern of mine anymore. Now I can finally get back to enjoying a nice, peaceful life with my fiancé. We're getting married next month.